Hey, guess what? This is my theme song.
The problem with Star Wars is the fans. And it is kind of Star Wars' fault, actually. Kind of, in the roundabout way, from a certain point of view.
A certain point of view?
The way Star Wars is designed, it's an entire galaxy. So there's a whole endless possibility of what could be in a Star Wars film, right? So when you've got a whole galaxy's worth of planets and stories to tell, it could be anything. And it captured your imagination in such a way that made you think, yeah, there could be anything here. So as you're growing up and you're appreciating Star Wars for what it is, and then you hear, oh, there's new movies coming, you start thinking what you would want those new movies to be, right? And yeah, you've got books and comic books and other expanded universe stories to go on, which that's part of the reason why I blame Star Wars for the fans building it up and putting it on a pedestal and building up these unrealistic expectations. But that's what's happening here, because many of us have grown up with Star Wars and built up unrealistic expectations of what we want Star Wars to be. And there's no way that Star Wars can be what we've built it up that we want it to be in our heads. So you go into a Star Wars movie with an idea of what you want and get upset when you don't get what you want. And Star Wars, nobody hates Star Wars like a Star Wars fan. Star Wars fans are terrible, and they take it personally, so they get upset at the Phantom Menace because it wasn't what they wanted, and then Attack of the Clones because it wasn't what they thought they wanted, and then they get upset at The Force Awakens because it wasn't what they thought they wanted. The Last Jedi, okay, you can get upset at that one, but then they get upset at this movie, The Rise of Skywalker, because it wasn't what they thought they wanted. To be clear, it is Star Wars' fault, because it's been 40 years since A New Hope came out, and we have 9 movies, 9 saga movies, 9 episodic movies, and then a whole bunch of other stuff, comics and the whole EU that's the legends, whether it's canon or not is another story. And with such a long gap in between official movies, filled with things like books and comic books and graphic novels and video games, and potential stories that could be, when the movies come out and they aren't those things that people grew up with and it's important to them and they take so personally because of the imagination that goes into Star Wars, then when the movies aren't what they wanted, they explode. So it's the unrealistic expectations that Star Wars fans have. That's the problem with Star Wars. And that's why I think a lot of people are hating on Rise of Skywalker, because it wasn't what they wanted it to be. And they're going to tear it apart in their nitpick, and I'm going to nitpick too. But to be clear, I nitpick Empire, but I still love Empire. You can nitpick something and still love it. And then, okay, so you get the original trilogy, and then you get almost 20 years until you get the prequel trilogy, right? And then the prequel trilogy, which were terrible, right? The prequel trilogies were terrible, people. And people knew that at the time.
George Lucas raped a childhood.
And this is why I'm upset with Star Wars fans, because the prequel trilogies were not good. The movies in the prequel trilogy were not good. And if you go back and watch them now, I cannot even get through Attack of the Clones. Phantom Menace is hard to get through. I have on DVD the original release of the Phantom Menace with Yoda as an actual puppet. They re-released it later with Yoda as a CG character, but the puppetry, okay. But don't try to tell me that you liked the lightsaber duel between Obi-Wan and Darth Maul and Qui-Gon. Don't try to tell me that you like Phantom Menace for that. Don't try to tell me that it's good because of that, because no. In the place where links generally are, there's a video to why, because that's not the point of this. Go watch that video to why that sword fight is not, that duel is not good. We knew that the prequel trilogy was not good. And then a decade goes by where people are building up more expectations, reading more books, reading more comic books, playing more games, learning more characters, and then you get The Force Awakens. And at first, everybody loved The Force Awakens. At first. It was great. Everyone loved it. it took time before people started coming out with, you know what, actually, I don't love it. And this is why I'm complaining about Star Wars fans, because you got people, oh, it was too much like the original Star Wars. Yeah, that's not a bad thing. The original Star Wars was good. Branch out and do something different. Okay. Then you get The Last Jedi. And look at what happens. All of a sudden, The Last Jedi comes out, and you get all these people trying to say the prequels were actually secretly genius. No, they weren't, people. One movie coming out now does not change a movie that came out 20 years ago. Stick on one opinion. Or The Last Jedi split the fandom. And then all of a sudden you got people saying, oh, The Last Jedi was so bad, and Force Awakens was so bad, and I just don't like what Disney's doing with Star Wars. But when The Force Awakens came out, you loved it. So let me get this straight. The Last Jedi was so bad that it made The Force Awakens bad, and the prequels good. How to do that? And then, I just don't like what Disney's doing with Star Wars. Disney's ruining Star Wars. Did you know that in 2019, Disney was responsible for 80% of the box office income? What? That kind of monopoly should not be allowed. That's a hard one to swallow. Guys, go see other movies. There are other movies out there. Go to them. Okay, so then we get to Rise of Skywalker with just impossible to meet expectations. Because the job that the Rise of Skywalker had to do was insurmountable, and there was no way it was going to please everybody. The Last Jedi split the fandom so much, and did in and itself so much, and it undid so much of what The Force Awakens did, and ended the story. Like just in terms of storyline, where The Last Jedi leaves off, The Force Awakens had to pick up from, and that was just a difficult place to pick up from, considering everything that it did. So first it had to bring the story together in a satisfying way, or in a competent way, had to close out the story. And then it had to please the fans, but the fans are so divided, and the fans clearly don't know what they want. If one movie can make the previous movie not good anymore, and then the previous movie before that good when it wasn't, then they had to please a bunch of people who don't even know what they want. You can't tell me that The Last Jedi made the Attack of the Clones good. You can't tell me that The Last Jedi made The Force Awakens bad. What? Here's the reason why I'm complaining about the fans. I avoided trailers for The Rise of Skywalker. I avoided social media so that I couldn't get anything spoiled. I wanted to go in to The Rise of Skywalker fresh, with no outside opinions influencing my judgment and my enjoyment of the experience, yay or nay. I wanted to let the movie affect me itself. Because if I had gone onto YouTube and watched a review where someone said that it was not good, then I would have gone into the movie with that in my head and already been steered toward the idea that it's not good. So I didn't watch any trailers. I didn't see any reviews. I stayed off of social media. From the day before it came out, I stayed off of social media until I saw it. And then I saw it a second time. And then I went on to back onto social media. And honestly, dude, I loved it. And I think in large part, the reason why I loved The Rise of Skywalker is because I went into it fresh, without anyone influencing my opinions. It wasn't perfect, no. But no movie is perfect. Perfect is impossible. Perfect, because the perfect movie cannot exist. Because movies, it's so subjective. Whether something was good or bad, It might be good to you, it might be perfect to you, but it might not be to me. Or it might be to that guy, but it might not be to her. Like, it is impossible, physically impossible, to make the perfect movie that pleases everybody. And because the filmmakers behind The Rise of Skywalker made the movie, J.J. Abrams made the movie he wanted to make. Not the movie you wanted him to make. Not the movie I wanted him to make. You just have to decide whether you're going to like the movie that is made or not. Right? Because this is the movie we got, people. And if you set aside your unrealistic, unattainable expectations and accept the movie for what it is, stop comparing it to, oh, it's Star Wars, it has to be this thing, and just think about it in terms of, it is a movie. It is what it is. Star Wars can be anything. This is what we're getting. And you get the prejudice out of your head, you might actually enjoy it. Dude, it was a roller coaster. And it did a lot. And it set up a lot of things for future movies. And it was action, and it was epic, and it did so many cool things. The only reason I can think that someone might not have liked this movie is because it wasn't what they wanted it to be. After I watched it for the second time, and I finally went back on social media, I saw all these people talking about how bad it was, how it's absolute garbage, and it wasn't good because of this and this, that, and the other. And every single thing that people said was an unrealistic expectation, unattainable goal, because it wasn't what they wanted. You don't have that with every other movie. If it's not what you wanted, don't watch it. And this is the reason why this bothers me, because you've got so many people, so many videos, so many things where people are talking about how bad Rise of Skywalker is. What if I had seen it? Or what if somebody else who wasn't already going to see it sees your video and decides, oh, you know what? Or sees one of these reviews. I'm not talking to anyone specific. I'm not calling anybody out, but there are a lot of videos out there where people are trashing it. So what if somebody who wasn't already going to see the movie sees one of those videos trashing it and says, you know what? Maybe I don't want to see it. That video is going to ruin it for me. Well, you're robbing that person of what might have been a good experience. They might have enjoyed it if they didn't see your video first. That's the problem. Star Wars fans hate Star Wars because they want Star Wars to be something and it's not that thing. So here's my advice for what it's worth. Don't listen. Don't listen to what I'm saying. Don't listen to what any other reviewer, anyone else is saying. Go see it and make up your own mind. People don't say this for other movies, for movies that aren't Star Wars. Well, people don't hold other movies to the same golden standard as the Star Wars of yore. Stop comparing Star Wars movies to your expectations of what you want Star Wars movies to be, and just enjoy them for what they are. Let them be what they are. And what it is one filmmaker and his team of filmmakers, one storyteller, telling a story within the universe. Let it be what it is. As what it is, it was awesome. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to subscribe to the Easily Amused group, the show that is the show you're looking for. And also, I'm in a show on Amazon Prime called Real Acting. Go watch it. Season 1's available now. We're filming Season 2. It's really funny. You'll enjoy it.